Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I've been hard at work over the last month or so revitalizing the layout. If you didn't see the last video, pretty much I talked about how the current plan, the current design wasn't working very well. I was definitely discouraged. I wasn't sure what to do with the layout. I was very thrilled to be working on a Vermont Railway and Green Mountain Railway model railroad. At that being my favorite railroad, it was a fun project, but it just didn't work out. I didn't execute it well. Should have thought through the steps a little bit more, but that's okay. Now what I've got is a new layout with a new design, or part of it's a new design. I've got a new name. It's a freelance railroad, and we'll talk about that in a bit. And I've also got new industries and even a new locomotive. So let's dig right in and I'll show you what I've been doing. So to start off the layout update, I want to talk about the freelanced railroad. The name of the railroad is called the Prescott Terminal Railway. And this railway is a short line. Well, in modern day, today, it's a short line, approximately 4 miles long, serving 3 or 4 industries. Haven't really decided yet on the number. This railway, back in the day, was a busy passenger railway with a few spots for freight delivery and whatnot, but was since abandoned in around the 1970s or 1980s when the last trains ran through. And then back in the early 2000s, Prescott Terminal Railway was reborn, and it became an industrial short line serving a few customers. And we'll talk about those customers as I go along the tour and show you the new spots. Pretty much it's going to be 3 or 4 industries that this short line, this industrial short line, serves. So this first industry, which used to be called M&M Construction, is now MV Materials, and MV standing for Maple Valley. So you can see here that MV Materials is a very simple industry, has a loading platform or unloading platform, and it's going to receive box cars and flat cars or center beam cars with lumber and building materials, hardware, that kind of stuff. Now, the Prescott Terminal Railway interchanges with the Berkshire and Eastern Railway. And the trains from the Berkshire and Eastern are going to enter from where the lift gate once stood. So the trains come in, they enter, and they come into here, where they'll set off their cars on this loop, or this runaround, where these cars are sitting here. And they will interchange with the Prescott Terminal Railway. Now, the volume of cars on this railway, the traffic is going to be very small. Typically an interchange, which happens 2 or 3 times a week, you'll see between 3 and 4 cars coming in to the layout, into the railroad. Now the interchange shift will probably alternate, so one day the Berkshire and Eastern will bring cars in, and my railroad, the Prescott Terminal Railway, will pick them up, and then the next day cars will be dropped off back in the interchange for the Berkshire and Eastern to pick up. Again, playing around with the scheduling a little bit, that's the general idea. So the next area on the layout tour of the revitalized layout is this track here. Now this serves 2 purposes. Well, originally it served as the shop lead, but now on the Prescott Terminal Railway, not only is the beginning part of this spur the shop lead, but the area where you see these 2 hopper cars is going to be another industry as well. And this is going to be a transload for grain that would be used for animal feed. I imagine that the Prescott Terminal Railway is in a very rural area. There's a lot of farms, so a transload facility for grain seemed most appropriate for this location. I wanted to have, again, a little bit more operational interest, and I figured I could use this back end of the spur to transload between the hopper cars and tractor-trailer trucks. Before I forget to mention it, this next section of the layout is called Beaver Hill, and the engine shop and the car shop, where the locomotives and the equipment maintenance of way equipment and all that sort of stuff is stored in Beaver Hill. The actual yard that the Prescott Terminal Railway is split between Beaver Hill and Prescott. Now, not too much has changed in this area, or this particular angle that we're looking at. So you can see I've got a mock-up of what's going to be the engine shop / car shop. So I actually had to go ahead and angle that first shop track towards the river a little bit. I realized that I didn't leave quite enough spacing for the shop that I wanted, the kit that I wanted. So I had to shimmy that on over a little bit. And unfortunately, I had to block the road that I was originally going to have crossing the tracks and running adjacent to the river. But I actually realized that that road in there was going to be a little too crowded anyways, so I was happy to get rid of it. Obviously, the background image with the road is still there, but it's going to be covered up with either some scenery or the actual shop kit itself or something else. I'll figure something else out. So that shop is going to be there. And then the ethanol transfer facility, which was on the previous layout, is going to stay as well. I really like the idea of having ethanol transload facility. I think that it's an interesting industry to model. And I actually picked up a kit that is the modern, I think they're called modern loading racks. It's by Walther's Cornerstone. And it's a great little kit, very simple. Again, it'll be a transload between tractor trailers or the ethanol tank cars and tractor trailers. So all the industries on the layout are more or less going to be pretty simple, like a transload facility of sorts. So just to show you here real quick, this is the kit I was talking about. Walther's Cornerstone, the 4 modern loading racks. It's a pretty interesting kit. It doesn't look too complicated. A few tiny parts in there, but it shouldn't be too bad. I found this on eBay for a really good price. Someone had it on sale. I think they had some other additional discount too, so I had to pick it up. It actually fits perfectly in between the 2 spur tracks here, between the ethanol tanks. I think that's going to work out pretty well. So this particular section of the yard over here, the old Bellows Falls yard, is going to be very simple. Just going to be a few tracks to arrange some cars and not really much else. However, that little square piece of paper, a rectangle, rather, if I can get my shapes right, it's actually going to be a station. It's going to be the old Prescott Terminal Station. Now, I had this kit kicking around for a while. I actually bought this for the Vermont Railway layout. I think I saw it, I don't know if I got it at a train show. I really like the look of it, and I was going to put it somewhere, but I never found a home for it. And then I thought to myself, you know what, this will actually work very well for an old railway station for the Prescott Terminal. Now, this kit is going to represent not a station, but it's actually going to represent the office for the Prescott Terminal Railway. So this is where all the conductors are going to get their paperwork, where the business side of things is going to happen for the Prescott Terminal Railway. Now, there was one particular area that prompted me to want to revitalize the layout and change it around. Now, that was this whole back section starting from where this lower track is here, or I'm sorry, the middle track, kind of coming around here to this area. That whole curve was just too sharp. It didn't work, and I just didn't know what to do. That's why I opted to do a point-to-point switching layout. Now you can see that the area, if we go back here, try not to pan too much. If we go back, this lower track here, one towards the bottom of the screen, that was a spur for the Bellows Falls station. And I decided to actually extend this spur and wrap it around the corner and go into the next section of the layout, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then this sort of track in the middle, if we go back here, sorry for the panning, this is now just a lead for the runaround. I was originally hesitating to have 2 areas that crossed over the module joint, but it actually worked out pretty well. I had one more extra connector to join the 2 sides together. So I figured, you know what, I'll go ahead and try it. It actually worked out pretty well, and having this longer lead for the runaround has worked out very, very well. So continuing on, we follow that track around the curve, we end up in Riverside. And Riverside is the end of the short line. It runs from Maple Valley into Beaver Hill, Prescott, and terminates in Riverside. Now, this particular spur that extends from that old station spur, the old Bellows Falls yard, this spur ends at an industry that I'm calling Central Products. And this, again, you can see I've got a mock-up here of this industry, or what I'm hoping it'll look like. But this industry here is a manufacturer of ceramic pellets that are used in CNC milling. And this was actually a suggestion by a friend, and I have been absolutely obsessed with researching how these pellets are made. It's a very cool process. I mean, I love all that kind of stuff anyways, but it's very interesting, and I think it's going to be a fun industry to model on the layout. It's going to receive slurry tanks It's going to receive pressure aid hoppers with a powdered binding agent. And then it's going to receive 3-bay or maybe 2-bay hoppers to load the finished products into. Now, as I mentioned, the Prescott Terminal Railway was once a very prominent passenger railway in the community, and much of the line was abandoned, but they were able to revitalize it up until about a quarter-mile section into the Riverside community where the line terminates. And back in the 90s, this ceramic pellet manufacturer started building their factory here and eventually joined with the railway to have railway service. So this is where the line ends, and these cars will eventually be brought to Prescott Yard, switched around, and they'll end up back on the interchange. So I had to completely revitalize this whole area where that truss bridge used to be. So I had to fill in those massive holes that I had carved in the foam from where the truss bridge was sort of resting in. And I decided to just use a lot of plaster and create a lot of rock work. But I also decided I wanted to carve another bridge out of foam. I couldn't find a bridge that actually worked in the space that I needed, so I went ahead and I carved one. And you know what? I am loving the look of this whole scene. I'm not sure I'm really digging the color of the rocks yet. I think it needs a little bit more touch-up, so I definitely need to do some highlights, maybe lighten it up a little bit, but I'm not sure. I'm kind of just sitting in that idea for a bit. But I'm thinking this scene is turning out real well. I love the river. I love the factory scene. I've got a kit that I already picked out. It's a pike stuff kit. I'm going to combine that with a little bit of scratch building, maybe some 3D printed silos to sort of complete the look of the factory. This whole thing is definitely coming together, and I'm just thrilled with how it looks. Now that you've gotten the rundown on the changes I made for the layout, let's talk about operations. So I've opted to go for a car card and waybill system. This is something I've been exploring for a little bit, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. So I went ahead and found a template online of some car cards, and right now I've got some cardstock sections I've cut out and just labeled pick up, set out, hold, that sort of thing, kind of experimenting with the idea a little bit more. But in addition to the car cards and waybills, I'm using the track diagrams that I've mentioned before. If we just pan over here, you can see one of them. I actually have to redo these again for the third time because I have some changes I want to make. But so far, operations has been really, really fun. Now these car card boxes are actually made out of leftover hardboard that I had from the backdrop. I've got this set here, it holds 6. I've got 2 that hold 3, and then I've got 1 that holds 2. And in the different layout videos in the future, you'll see those. Another thing that I've added to make operations a little bit more interesting, or at least I hope so, is these very simple little locks to simulate the locks for the switches. These are just cheap little locks that I got at Walmart, but I've got one here, and this is for the BERX West switch. This is the west side of Maple Valley. Got one here, and then let's go take a look at the other one. And here we are. So now I've got the BERX East switch locks. So I've got one here for not only the BERX East, but also MV Materials. So this whole block is actually going to be controlled by signals, given that the Berkshire and Eastern is, I guess, terminating their trackage rights at this interchange, but the Prescott Terminal Railway also enters into that area, so there needs to be a little bit of communication. I was thinking I might do track warrants as well, at least for the Prescott Terminal Railway part, but I think having the signals will add a lot more interest as well and allow the operators to do things a little bit more slowly, a little bit more prototypically. And the last thing I wanted to talk about for the sort of revitalized layout is power. So I've actually gone ahead and sold a lot of my Vermont Railway stuff. I still have GMRC 405, of course, I have to, and I also have 400. But everything else, other than this Vermont Railway 301 you see on the right, is gone. Figured I could use the extra cash to purchase structures and really hone in on the Prescott Terminal Railway and just go full force getting this layout completed, hopefully by the end of the year. So the other locomotive is one I just recently purchased, and one I've been actually wanting to buy for quite some time, is a Bayline locomotive. Now, I have seen the Bayline on the Berkshire and Eastern before. It's a very interesting locomotive. I like the paint scheme. It's simple, but I like the contrasting colors. And I actually saw this locomotive not too long ago. It was lashed up with an old CN loco, and I'm thinking I might purchase that one as well at some point because I like the look of those two together. But for now, the power on the Prescott Terminal Railway is going to be these two GP38-2s. It's going to be the Bayline and Vermont Railway. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to eventually patch these locomotives with the PTR logo, whatever that is. I haven't come up with it yet, but that's the plan. Essentially, they're a very small, short line. They bought a couple of used locomotives. They just throw their logo on there, and they probably wouldn't even change the numbers, but who knows? I haven't given it that much thought. But moving forward, these are the two locomotives that you're going to see on the layout. Alright everybody, that's going to do it for this layout update video. I appreciate you taking the time to watch as always. I figured I'd finish this video off by just showing you the locomotive here a little bit more close up. Bayline locomotive number 6419. It's going to be the main power on the Prescott Terminal Railway moving forward, along with Vermont Railway 301. So be on the lookout for those. Appreciate you taking the time to watch. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you.